Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe my channel? Thank you so much. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you how my wife and I got married. 1 minute, we were strangers sitting 10 feet apart in a noisy bar, not having exchanged a single word. The next, we were at the city clerk's office holding a freshly stamped marriage certificate. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and an invisible barrier went up with her a human do not disturb sign. And yet, she married me on a whim. For 3 months, I never even held her hand. Then one night, I got up to use the bathroom and found her standing over me in the dark, her eyes shining with a frightening intensity. It was only then that I realized this wasn't an ice queen. This was a possessive streak hidden so deep it was practically buried. The day I met Chloe, I just slammed 3 beers with my buddy at a bar and was stumbling my way to the men's room. The hallway lights were a dizzying blur. She was leaning against the wall, scrolling on her phone. The hem of her white dress fluttered, revealing a pale, delicate ankle. I wasn't watching where I was going, and my elbow clipped her shoulder. Her phone clattered to the floor, the screen going black. Oh crap, I am so sorry. I bent down to grab it. But the second my fingers touched the case, her foot slammed down on the back of my hand. The pressure wasn't crushing, but a cold shock shot up my arm. I looked up at her. Her lashes were long, casting a shadow as she looked down. Her voice like ice chips. You have eyes, don't you? Seriously, it was an accident. I'll pay for the repairs. I offered. I tried to pull my hand back, but her foot didn't move. A couple people walking by glanced over, and I could feel my face getting hot. Look, could you maybe move your foot first? We can talk about this like adults. She finally, slowly lifted her foot. She picked up the phone, wiped it off, and the screen flickered on a spiderweb crack in the top left corner. Don't worry about it, she said, then turned and walked away, her white dress like an unopened flower disappearing into the VIP lounge at the end of the hall. My buddy Dave sidled up to me, his face alight with gossip. You know who that is? That's Chloe Vance. Her dad owns the biggest law firm in Denver. Total ice queen. I heard when she was studying abroad, she shut down so many rich guys they cried to their daddies. I rubbed the back of my hand where her shoe had been, saying nothing. Honestly, besides thinking she had a nasty temper, I felt nothing. A woman like that, and a regular 9-to-5 guy like me, our orbits were never going to cross again. A week later, I was dropping off a project file for a client and saw her again at the coffee shop downstairs from their office. She was sitting a window seat, an untouched Americano in front of her, frowning at her laptop screen. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. Hey, we meet again about last week. She looked up, her eyes scanning my face as if trying to place me. It took a few seconds. Yes, nothing. Just wanted to ask if you got your phone fixed. Whatever it cost, I want to pay you back. She pulled the phone from her purse. The crack was still there. No need. It's a hassle. I'm just going to get a new one. I can't let you do that. I'm the one who knocked it over. I pulled out my own phone. Let me get your number. When you buy the new one, just text me the model and I'll Venmo you. She stared at me for a solid 30 seconds. I was sure she was going to refuse, but then she gave a curt nod. Fine. After we swapped numbers, I waited for a text about a new phone, but she went completely dark. Not a single message. I checked her Instagram. It was a blank slate. Not even a profile picture. 3. About 2 weeks later, my mom called out of the blue. Her coworker had set me up with someone, and she insisted I go meet her on the weekend. I didn't want to go, but my mom's nagging wore me down. The meeting spot was a quiet, upscale cafe. When I arrived, the woman was already there. I saw the back of that familiar white dress through a decorative screen, and my stomach dropped. I walked around it, and sure enough, it was Chloe. She clearly wasn't expecting me either, raising an eyebrow. You, small world, I said, sitting down. This felt more unlikely than winning the lottery. You get into family pressure treatment, too? Yes, she said, taking a sip of tea. My mother told me if I didn't start dating, she'd arrange an engagement to the Harrison kid. I didn't know what to say to that. The situation was beyond awkward. We were from different universes. She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. I was a corporate drone squeezing onto a crowded light rail every morning. We didn't fit. After 10 minutes of silence, she suddenly spoke. We should get married. I nearly choked on my tea. I'm sorry, what? I said, we should get married. She looked at me, her gaze unnervingly serious. I need to be married to get my family off my back. You probably need a wife to get your mom to stop nagging you. We both get what we need. How about it? My brain was buzzing. I thought I'd misheard her. Are you serious? We barely know each other, and you know nothing about me. I don't, she admitted with stark honesty. But you seem tolerable, and you don't look like the type who gets clingy. We can have separate bedrooms, live our own lives. Once the parental pressure is off, we can get a divorce anytime. I stared at her, searching her face for any sign that this was a joke, but there was none. Her expression was as serious as a lawyer delivering a closing argument. Why me? I couldn't help but ask. She thought for a moment. That day in a coffee shop. You weren't creepy. You didn't try to hit on me. That puts you a step above most of the men I've met. That was the flimsiest reason I'd ever heard. Seriously? I thought. But then I looked at her impossibly beautiful face, thought about my mom's daily lectures on finding a girlfriend, and I heard myself say, okay, let's do it. Looking back now, I must have been out of my mind. 4. The day we went to the courthouse, the weather was perfect. I wore my most expensive button-down shirt. Chloe predictably wore a white dress, a small purse in her hand. The city clerk's office was quiet. The clerk handling our paperwork kept giving us weird looks, probably because she'd never seen a couple so detached. We barely spoke. When the photographer told us to move closer for the photo, Chloe shifted exactly half an inch in my direction. When they handed us the marriage certificate, I was still in a daze. Walking out of the courthouse, Chloe slipped her copy into her purse. My place isn't far from your office. Do you want to move in, or should I move in with you? Where do you live? I asked. The Pinnacle Crest. I sucked in a breath. That place was a well-known millionaire's row in Denver. One of those apartments was worth more than I'd make in my entire life. I guess I'll move in with you. Okay, I'll have the housekeeper prepare a guest room this afternoon, she said, pulling out a car key. I can have my driver take you home to pack. No, that's okay. I could just get a moving service. I waved my hands frantically. Being around someone from her world made me feel completely out of my element. She didn't insist, just texted me the address. Be there before 6 o'clock tonight. My mother wants to come over for dinner. What? We're already doing the meet the parents thing? How else are we going to convince her we're serious? She glanced at me. Don't worry, I'll brief you on what to say. 5. That afternoon, I stood in my small rental apartment, looking at my pathetic pile of belongings that weren't worth much combined, and felt a profound sense of unreality. I was married to someone like Chloe Vance. When the movers pulled up to the Pinnacle Crest, even the security guard at the gate gave me a suspicious once-over. Entering Chloe's apartment stunned me even more. It was a duplex penthouse decorated in a stark minimalist style. It was so white it was blinding, as clean as a showroom, with absolutely zero signs of life. A woman in an apron came to greet me. You must be Mr. Cole. Ms. Vance let me know you were coming. The guest room is on the 2nd floor. I'll show you the way. The guest room was bigger than my old apartment and had its own en-suite bathroom. The housekeeper, Maria, set down my boxes and poured me a glass of water. Ms. Vance can be a little cold, but she's not a bad person. She just doesn't talk much. I just nodded, not daring to ask any more questions. The doorbell rang at 6 o'clock sharp. Chloe's mother, an elegant middle-aged woman in a chic designer dress, walked in, followed by a man carrying a fruit basket, who I assumed was Chloe's father. Mr. and Mrs. Vance, it's a pleasure to meet you, I said, jumping to my feet, not knowing what to do with my hands. Ethan, please sit down. Mrs. Vance smiled warmly, taking my hand and asking a barrage of questions from my job to my salary to my family background. I answered each one while Chloe sat beside me, chiming occasionally. Her tone was flat, but every comment she made was perfectly timed to get me out of a tight spot. When her mom asked when I planned on buying a bigger place, Chloe said, "We like it here for now. Moving is such a hassle." When her mom asked when we planned on having kids, Chloe said, "Our careers are just taking off. We're not in a rush." By the end of dinner, my back was soaked with sweat. After seeing her parents off, I collapsed onto the sofa and let out a long sigh. God, that was intense. Chloe ignored me, walking straight to the kitchen. She opened the fridge, took out a carton of milk, poured it into a mug, and heated it in the microwave. "Do you want some?" she asked. "Oh yeah, thanks." She poured another mug and handed it to me. Holding the warm mug, I watched her profile and suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. This woman was now legally my wife. So I started hesitantly. "Are we just going to live like this? What other way is there?" She said after a sip of milk. "I already told you. Separate rooms, separate lives. You can have friends over, but no sleepovers. Don't go into my room and don't touch my things. Got it?" I nodded. It sounded more like a roommate agreement. "And one more thing," she said, looking at me, her eyes serious. "We can play the loving couple in public, but in private, we keep our distance." Understood. That night, I tossed and turned in the huge bed in the guest room, unable to sleep. There wasn't a single sound from the room next door. I half wondered if Chloe was even in there. The days that followed were as bland as water. We barely saw each other in the mornings. She always got up earlier than me, and by the time I was awake, she was already at the firm. She came home late, sometimes after I was already asleep, tiptoeing back to her room. On the rare occasions we ate dinner at home together, it was mostly in silence. She ate slowly, taking tiny, precise bites, never making a sound. Unlike me with my shovel-lighting approach. Once my mom wanted to see our bedroom during a FaceTime call, I frantically aimed the camera at the guest room. Just then, Chloe walked in, glanced at me, and then nonchalantly came over and sat beside me. She reached out and smoothed my hair. "Mom, we were just about to go to bed. We both have work early tomorrow." The second the call ended, she snatched her hand back as if nothing had happened. "Give me a heads up next time." "Oh, okay," I said, touching the spot on my head where her hand had been. A strange feeling stirring inside me. To be fair, besides being an ice queen, Chloe was a perfect roommate. She handled all the household expenses. Maria, the housekeeper, kept everything immaculate. On my birthday, she even had Maria bake me cake. But that keep-her-distance vibe she radiated was suffocating. Sometimes I'd try to make conversation, and she'd either respond with a non-committal or just say she was tired, and forget about physical contact. Once I reached for a file and accidentally brushed her arm. She flinched away like she'd been burned and shot me a look that made me feel like a total creep. I started to wonder, was she even into men? Or maybe there was someone else. After more than a month of this married, but stranger's routine, I couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't that I was desperate to be with her. It was just that the whole situation was too damn weird. We were husband and wife, but we were more distant than acquaintances. She came home early one evening and was sitting in the living room reading a case file. I took a deep breath and walked over. "Chloe, can we talk?" She looked up. "About what?" "About this. Our arrangement." I scratched my head. "Why did you really marry me? It can't just be to get your mom off your case, can it?" She closed the file and sat on a coffee table. "Why not? But you couldn't have just picked a total stranger." I was getting frustrated. "Weren't you afraid I might be a bad guy, or that I had ulterior motives?" "You're not?" she said with absolute certainty. "I had you checked out." I froze. "You want me checked out?" "Yes." She nodded, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Before I proposed to you in a cafe, I had my assistant run a background check. Ethan Cole, 28 years old, graduated from State University, works as a marketing strategist in an ad agency. Salary of $60,000 a year. No house, no car. Parents are working class. No criminal record. Relationship history is simple. One college girlfriend broke up 3 years ago. I was completely floored. That was terrifying. You know that a massive invasion of privacy, right? I was ensuring my own safety, she said, looking at me. And the facts prove my choice was correct. You've been very well behaved. Well behaved. I let out a bitter laugh. So in your eyes, I'm just a prop, a means to an end. That's one way to put it. She didn't deny it. If this makes you uncomfortable, you can file for divorce. I'll provide you with a generous settlement. I don't want a settlement. My voice rose. I just don't get it. What's in it for you? What good does marrying someone like me do for you? Don't your parents find it strange? They just need to know I'm married. They don't care to whom? Her voice was flat. They were pressuring me too much. I needed a buffer. Looking at her blank, expressionless face, I suddenly felt a pang of sympathy for her. Being a rich girl didn't seem so great after all. Fine, I get it. I sighed. A prop it is. But could we at least be a little more normal? Like, talk to me sometimes without being so cold. She was silent for a few seconds, then nodded. I can try. After that, she did change a little. She was still a woman of few words, but when I spoke to her, she'd actually listen. Sometimes when I came home late from work, she'd leave a light on for me or even wait in the living room and hand me a glass of warm water. One time I had too much to drink at a company party, and a coworker had to drive me home. In my drunken haze, I felt someone wiping my face and a blanket being draped over me. The next morning, Maria told me it was Chloe who had taken care of me. A warmth spread through my chest. I felt like there might be some hope for this thing after all. That is until I brought a female colleague home to grab a file. Her name was Maya from my team. We were on good terms. We had worked late, and she offered me a ride home. I remembered I'd left a document I needed at the apartment, so I told her to wait downstairs while I ran up to get it. The moment I opened the door, Chloe was standing right there in the entryway, startling me. "Why are you still up waiting for you?" she said, her gaze drifting past me to Maya, who was waiting outside. Maya must have heard us because she poked her head in. "Ethan, you get it?" Chloe's gaze turned glacial. She stared at Maya like she was prey. "And you are?" "Oh, this is my colleague, Maya. She gave me a ride home." I explained quickly. "Maya, this is my wife, Chloe." Maya looked stunned, probably not expecting me to be married. She quickly recovered. "Hi, nice to meet you." Chloe ignored her, her eyes fixed on me. "The file. All right, in my room. I'll go get it." I ran upstairs, grabbed the folder, and handed it to Maya. "Sorry to keep you waiting." "No problem. I'll get going then." Maya could clearly sense the tense atmosphere and left in a hurry. The second she was gone, Chloe spoke. "Who is she?" "Just a colleague from my team." "She's nice," I said, not thinking much of it. "Don't bring her here again." Her tone was ice cold. "What? Why?" "She was just helping me out." "I don't like it." With that, she turned, went back to her room, and shut the door with a sharp click. I stood there completely baffled. Was she jealous? It didn't seem like it. That look in her eyes was more like a predator whose territory had been invaded. After that night, Chloe reverted to her old self, maybe even colder. When I tried to talk to her, she'd pretend not to hear me. I was frustrated and had no one to talk to. If I told my buddies, they'd just say I was looking a gift horse in a mouth, complaining about having a gorgeous wife. If I told my mom, she'd worry. Then one day, I was passing by her home office and heard her on the phone. Her voice was low, but I caught a few phrases. "I warned you, stop bothering me. I'm married now. If you keep this up, I won't be so polite." After she hung up, I heard something shatter inside. I flinched, my hand reaching for the doorknob to see if she was okay, but I pulled it back. So, there really was someone else, and it sounded like he was still pestering her. A wave of sadness washed over me. Even though I knew this was a marriage of convenience, hearing that still stung. I couldn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m., I gave up and went to the kitchen for some water. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw Chloe's bedroom door was ajar. The room was dark. I hesitated, then crept closer, wanting to see if she was still awake. As I neared, the door swung open. Chloe stood in the doorway in a white silk nightgown, her hair down. In the darkness, her eyes seemed to glow. "What are you doing?" Her voice was husky. "I was thirsty. Just getting some water." She didn't say anything, just stared at me with an unnerving intensity that made my skin crawl. The dim night light from the hallway cast her face in shadow, half lit, half dark. Her gaze wasn't its usual coldness. It was like something turbulent was churning just beneath the surface. "I'll get it for you." She suddenly turned and went to the kitchen, returning a moment later with a glass of warm water. The glass was hot. I fumbled it, and some of the water splashed on my hand. "Ouch!" I hissed. In a flash, she grabbed my wrist, her cool fingertips pressing against my hot skin. "Did you burn yourself?" she asked. Her head bowed to look at my hand. Her hair brushed against my skin, making it itch. "It's fine. It's fine." I tried to pull my hand away, but her grip tightened. It was the first time she had ever initiated contact with me, and her grip was surprisingly strong. It didn't feel like concern. It felt like she was afraid I would run. "Stay away from that Maya girl," she said, looking up, her eyes bright in the dark. "The way she looks at you is wrong." I was taken aback. You're imagining things. We're just coworkers. I'm not imagining things. She released my hand and turned back toward her room to stay away from her. The door clicked shut, leaving me standing there holding a glass of water, my heart pounding in my chest. That look in her eyes, it was terrifying. A few days later, Maya asked me out to dinner, saying she wanted to thank me for helping her with a project proposal. I wanted to say no, but she was persistent, so I finally agreed. We met at an Italian place near the office. When I got there, Maya was already seated, wearing a new dress and light makeup. She looked completely different from the girl in t-shirts and jeans at work. "Ethan, over here," she waved, smiling brightly. I sat down feeling uneasy. Chloe's words were ringing in my ears, and something fell off. "What's wrong? You feeling okay?" Maya asked. "No, just a little tired," I said, grabbing the menu. "Want to get this over with." "I have something to tell you," Maya said, suddenly putting down her fork and looking at me. "Ethan, I have feelings for you. Can you divorce your wife?" The menu slipped from my hands and hit the table with a thud. My eyes went wide. "What did you just say?" I said. "I like you," she said, her expression serious. "I know you're married, but you two don't act like a couple. She's so cold to you. She obviously doesn't love you. Be with me. I'll be good to you." I finally realized Chloe had been right. This girl was interested in me, but this was way too direct. I immediately held up my hands. "Maya, don't joke around. I'm married and I'm not joking." She cut me off. "I've been watching you for a long time. You're a good person. You shouldn't be stuck with a cold woman like her for the rest of your life. That's my business, and it has nothing to do with you." I said, my patience wearing thin. "I'm not hungry anymore. You enjoy your meal." I got up and left, ignoring Maya calling my name from behind me. When I got home, Chloe was sitting in the living room. She wasn't watching TV or reading a file, just sitting there as if she were waiting for me. "You're back," she said, looking up. Her tone was unreadable. "Yeah." I took off my shoes, avoiding her gaze. "It's late. I'm just going to go up to bed." "Where were you?" she asked. "Dinner with a colleague," I said vaguely. "With Maya." My feet froze. I turned around. "How did you know?" She didn't answer. She stood up, walked over to me, and pulled a few photos from her pocket, throwing them onto the coffee table in front of me. There were pictures of me and Maya at the restaurant, clearly taken by telephoto lens. They were candids. Me looking at the menu. Maya talking to me, my back as I walked away. "What did she say to you?" Chloe's voice was calm, but it was a terrifying kind of calm. "Nothing." I lied, my stomach twisting. I had no idea what she was capable of. "Did she ask you to divorce me?" Her voice suddenly shot up, the ice in her eyes cracking to reveal something wild and churning underneath. "I knew it. The way she looks at you is all wrong. You had me follow my own anger flared." "Chloe, that's crossing a line." "Crossing a line? So, I'm just supposed to stand by and watch her steal you away from me?" She grabbed my arm, her grip so tight I thought her nails would break the skin. "You are mine. No one is taking you from me." I was shocked by her reaction. This wasn't a cold, aloof Chloe. I knew this was someone else entirely. "You're crazy. What are you talking about, mine? We are husband and wife," she screamed, her eyes turning red. "It's written on the marriage certificate. You are Chloe Vance's husband." Her outburst left me stunned and frankly at a loss. "Okay, just let go," I said, try to de-escalate. "Let go and we can talk." She slowly released her grip, then walked over to the bar, poured 2 glasses of red wine, and handed one to me. "I'm sorry, I got emotional. Have a drink." It's my apology. I looked at the glass of wine, hesitating. Her reaction was scary, but her apology seemed sincere. "Fine," I said, taking the glass and clinking it against hers before taking a long drink. The wine was a bit dry, but the kick was strong. A few moments later, my head started to feel fuzzy and my eyelids grew heavy. "What's happening?" I tried to stand, but my legs gave out from under me. Chloe caught me before I could fall. "You're drunk. I'll help you upstairs." Her voice was a soft whisper in my ear, completely different from her usual tone. My body felt like lead. I could only let her sling my arm over her shoulder and guide me up the stairs. When we got her bedroom door, a sliver of clarity returned. "I should go to my room. Your sheets need changing. You're sleeping with me tonight," she said, pushing her door open and helping me on her bed. The room was dark, lit only by the moonlight filtering through the window. I lay on the bed, the room spinning around me. I tried to push her away, but I had no strength. "Chloe, what did you give me?" She leaned over me, her hair tickling my face. "Nothing. Just something to help you sleep well." Her hand gently caressed my face, her touch so tender, so unlike her. "Ethan, don't leave me." "Okay." I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't work. My consciousness faded, and then everything went black. When I woke up the next morning, my head was pounding. I opened my eyes and froze. This wasn't my room. It was Chloe's, and I was naked, lying next to someone who was also naked. Chloe had her back to me. Her hair split across the pillow, the curve of her shoulder elegant and smooth. My mind roared. Fragments of a night before came flooding back. The red wine, the dizziness, her helping me upstairs, her whispering in my ear. Oh God, Chloe and we'd slept together. I shot up, the comforter pooling around my waist, revealing the marks on my chest. My movement woke Chloe. She slowly turned over, the usual iciness in her eyes gone, replaced by a misty, unreadable emotion. "You're awake," she said, her voice raspy. Does her head still hurt? I stared at her, a mess of conflicting emotions. Part of me was angry, sure, but mostly it was something else. Something I couldn't name. After all, she was my wife and she was stunning. But she had drugged me. That was seriously messed up. Last night I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. She sat up, the comforter slipping to her waist, revealing a red mark on her shoulder. "I'm sorry," she said, looking down. "I was so scared. Scared she would take you away from me. You were scared, so you drugged me." I laughed, a humorless sound. "Chloe, don't you think that's a little extreme?" "I didn't know what else to do," she said, looking up at me, her eyes red-rimmed. "I try to be cold to you. I try to keep my distance, but I couldn't. Seeing you talk to another woman made me want to claw her eyes out. Seeing you be so polite and distant with me made me want to chain you to my side." Her confession left me speechless. Was this the same Ice Queen? She sounded more like a scared, insecure kid. "We had an agreement," I sighed. "You didn't have to do this. I regret it." She suddenly threw her arms around me, burying her face in my chest. "Ethan, I regret it. I don't want an agreement anymore. I want a real marriage with you." Her body was soft and hot, a stark contrast to her usual cold demeanor. I could feel her trembling as if she were terrified. "Okay, first, let's get up and get dressed," I said, patting her back. Honestly, sitting here naked while she clung to me was doing a number on my self-control. She didn't move, just held on tighter. "No, I'm afraid if I let go, you'll run away." "I'm not going to run," I said, exasperated. "I'm right here, not going anywhere." She finally slowly loosened her grip, but her hand stayed clamped on my arm like a koala on a branch. I surrendered. I just sat there with her, listening as she haltingly told me about her past. It turned out she wasn't asexual. She'd been relentlessly pursued by a rich guy in college. She had zero interest in him, but he wouldn't take no for an answer, stalking her to the point that she developed a deep-seated distrust of men, using her coldness as a shield. Marrying me was at first a way to appease her family, but as we lived together, she realized I was different. I didn't make moves on her, didn't pressure her. Slowly, she started to fall for me, but didn't know how to show it. So, she just doubled down on the Ice Queen act. Seeing Maya confess to me was the final straw. She panicked, terrified of losing me, and resorted to her crazy plan. "So, that phone call when you said someone was bothering you, it wasn't an ex, it was that rich guy?" I asked. "Yes," she nodded. "He started harassing me again recently. I've been ignoring him." I looked at her, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What a mess. One night, she was guarding herself against me like I was a criminal. The next, she was drugging me and dragging me in her bed. And now she was acting like a human limpid. "All right, I get it." I sighed. "I'll cut things off completely with Maya. And you can't ever pull a stunt like that again." "Really?" Her eyes lit up, her grip on my arm tightening. "You're not mad at me." "What's the point of being mad?" I gave her a look. The damage is done. A slow smile spread across her face. A genuine, sweet smile that was so different from her usual expression, it almost took my breath away. "Ethan, you're so good to me." From that day on, Chloe was a completely different person. The separate rooms were a thing of the past. Now she complained my bed was more comfortable and refused to leave my room at night. The woman who used to flinch if I touched her now practically lived on me. A hug before work, a kiss after, and she had to be holding my arm to fall asleep. One night, I was gaming online with my buddies and stayed up a little late. She just sat next to me, her stare getting more and more sorrowful until she finally just unplugged the router. What's more important, your game or me? On the other end of the headset, Dave was howling with laughter. Damn, Ethan, looks like your ice queen melted, and she's a clingy one. I could only laugh awkwardly, hang up, and go placate my wife. And she was incredibly jealous. If I talked to a female colleague for 2 minutes too long, I get an interrogation when I got home and have to swear on my life that I had no ulterior motives. She even went to my office and had a friendly chat with Maya. I don't know what was said, but ever since Maya looks at me like she's seen a ghost and avoids me at all costs. Once I casually mentioned that my college ex used to make an amazing pot roast. That night, I came home to a blackened, suspicious-looking lump on the table. Chloe was beaming at me. I try to make you a pot roast. Try it. I took one bite and almost gagged. It was salty and bitter. How is it? She asked. There's room for improvement. I choked out. Her eyes immediately welled up. It's not as good as your ex-girlfriend's, is it? No. I backpedaled frantically. For first try, this is amazing. Seriously. She brightened up immediately, sitting beside me and watching me eat the entire char disaster, constantly piling more on my plate. Eat up. I can make more if you want. I looked at her, feeling a mix of helplessness and a strange, unfamiliar warmth. This wasn't an ice queen. This was a possessive, slightly unstable woman who had been hiding in plain sight. But it was also kind of adorable. At least she wasn't keeping her distance anymore. One evening, I was holding her while we watched TV and remember those first few weeks when she had coldly informed me of the rules about personal space. I couldn't help but smile. What are you smiling about? She asked, looking up at me. Nothing, I said, pinching her cheek. Just thinking how unbelievable this all is. What's unbelievable that I somehow married a girl with a crazy, jealous streak like you? She swatted me. I do not have a crazy, jealous streak. I just love you a lot. Yes, you love me. I laughed, pulling her closer. And I love you, my crazy, jealous wife. She didn't answer, just snuggled deeper in my arms, a secret smile playing on her lips. The moonlight was perfect, spilling over our intertwined hands. Maybe our marriage started as a bizarre transaction, but now it felt like it was heading in a pretty good direction. So, my wife was a little possessive, a little clingy, and incredibly jealous, but she was mine. Life fell into a comfortable rhythm. Chloe's possessive tendencies still flared up now and then, but mostly they were overshadowed by her overwhelming affection. On cold nights, she'd warm my pajamas with a hot water bottle, so when I got into bed, it felt like climbing into an incubator. On hot nights, she complained the AC was bad for me and sit there fanning me with a small fan. Her own forehead beat with sweat, a look of pure contentment on her face. My mom came to visit once and saw Chloe meticulously peeling shrimp for me. Her jaw dropped. She pulled me aside later. That girl seemed so cold before, but she really dotes on you. You better treat her right. You hear me? I just smiled and nodded, my heart full. My company organized a team building retreat to a nearby city for a weekend. The moment I told Chloe, her face fell. Do you have to go? She asked, clinging to my arm like a child. I do. It's a team thing. It would be bad to skip it, I said, patting her hand. It's just 2 days. I'll be back before you know it. 2 days is too long, she pouted. What if some other woman tries to snatch you away? I'm not that charming, I said, half laughing. Besides, you have my heart, don't you? My coaxing made her smile, but she was still worried. She spent the entire night packing for me, putting in my toothbrush, towel, and even a pack of Band-Aids. Right before I left, she gave me a prominent hickey on my neck there, she said proudly. Now everyone will know you're taken. During those 2 days, her texts and calls were relentless. What did you have for breakfast? What are you doing now? At night, she'd FaceTime me to make sure I wasn't alone with any female colleagues. My coworkers all teased me. Ethan, this isn't team building. This is remote surveillance. I complained about the hassle, but deep down I felt incredibly warm. The day I returned, I had just stepped out of the train station when I saw her standing at the exit. She was wearing the beige trench coat I'd bought for her, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "What are you doing here?" I asked, walking over and taking the flowers. "I'm here to take you home," she said, standing on her toes to kiss my cheek. "Did you miss me?" "Every day," I said, pulling her into a hug. The bustling crowd around us faded into a blurry background. The only thing in focus was her. Before we knew it, our first wedding anniversary arrived. I booked a table at a fancy restaurant and bought her a necklace, planning a surprise. But when I got home from work, Chloe was nowhere to be seen. A large cake with a single candle sat on the living room table next to 2 wine glasses. "Chloe," I called out. The bedroom door opened and she emerged. She was wearing a stunning red dress. Her makeup was perfect and her hair was pinned up, revealing her slender neck. I was speechless. "Do you like it?" she asked, doing a little twirl in front of me. "I love it. You look—" "Wow." I managed, handing her the gift bag. "Happy anniversary." She took the box, and her eyes lit up when she opened it. It was a simple silver necklace with a small, delicate C pendant for her name. "It's beautiful," she said, her face tilted up. "Will you put on for me?" I stepped behind her, my fingers brushing through her hair as I fastened the clasp. The cool metal touched her skin, and she shivered slightly before turning around and wrapping her arms around my waist. "Ethan, thank you." Her voice was muffled against my chest. "Thank you for not hating me for how I used to be. And thank you for staying. You silly girl. We're married," I said, stroking her hair. "I should be thanking you for letting your guard down and letting me see the real you." We ended up skipping a restaurant. We stayed home and ate the dinner she'd cooked herself. The food was still not great, but I savored every bite. When we blew out the candle, she closed her eyes to make a wish, her long lashes casting tiny shadows in the soft light. "What did you wish for?" I asked. "If I tell you, it won't come true," she said with a playful wink, leaning in to kiss me. The cake was also homemade. The frosting was uneven, and written in messy chocolate icing were the words, "Ethan and Chloe forever." The handwriting was adorably awful. Halfway through the cake, she suddenly pulled out a document and placed it in front of me. I froze. It was our divorce agreement and signed. "This is I've been thinking," she said, her gaze incredibly earnest. "Our old agreement is void. There's no use for this anymore." She picked up a pen, signed her name, Chloe Vance, on her line, and then passed the pen to me. "If you want to leave, you still can." I saw the mix of anxiety and hope in her eyes, and my heart felt like it would overflow. I didn't take the pen. Instead, I took the papers, walked to the window, opened it, and tore the agreement into tiny pieces, letting them scatter into the night. "What are you doing?" she gasped. "Getting rid of clutter," I said, walking back and taking her hands in mine. "Chloe, I'm not leaving. Not then. Not now, not ever." Tears instantly streamed down her face. Not of sadness, but of pure joy. She threw herself into my arms and sobbed. "Why are you so good to me? Hey, you've got good taste in husbands." I joked, wiping her tears away. "You're going to smudge your makeup." She playfully hit my chest, but her smile was brighter than ever. 2 years later, we had a daughter. We called her Annie, short for Annabelle, Chloe Cole. Annie looks just like Chloe with the same big eyes and long lashes, but her personality is all mine. Outgoing, bubbly, and not scared of anyone. Chloe became a full-time mom, dedicating herself to Annie. But her possessiveness towards me didn't fade one bit. If I held Annie for too long, she'd get jealous. "Do you not love me anymore? Do you only love our daughter?" If I came home late from work, she'd be waiting on the sofa, holding Annie, her eyes red. "Are you seeing someone else?" It would take a mountain of reassurances, hugs, and kisses before she'd finally relent. I'd pull them both in my arms, my heart full and warm. Annie would giggle in my embrace, and Chloe would lean against my shoulder, a contented smile on her face. I think back to when I first met her, an untouchable ice queen. I never could have imagined that one day she would become this person, clingy, jealous, a woman who could cry and laugh, who would learn to cook for me, who would stand as a fierce protector for our daughter and me. Maybe that's what love is. It melts glaciers, makes hedgehogs retract their spines, and transforms two complete strangers into the most important people in each other's lives. My Ice Queen wife is actually a deeply possessive woman. But so what? She's my possessive woman. She's my wife, the mother of my child, and the person I'll love for the rest of my life.